Hello, back again for episode 2. Are we just diving in like the tour?
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So, yes, episode 2, Average Age Grouper podcast. I am one of the hosts, Holly. Solidly average to slightly below average athlete. Yep. Producer of this show.
Okay, I'm Maggie. I think we're going to be talking a lot about me today, so I'm going to leave it at this.
And I'm Laura. Probably just below average.
That's all I got for you.
We are Average Age Groupers. This is our podcast where we talk about everything in the endurance sport world from the viewpoint of your typical average human being.
I need to stop saying that word. Human being?
I can fix the That's not a problem.
Today, on this episode, we are going to hear kind of Maggie's story of how she came into the endurance sport world. We briefly mentioned she started with a swimming background, but we're going to hear kind of how she got to today.
Yep. We're going to ask all kinds of questions about it. Perspective of getting started, managing through school, all that kind of stuff. Our background, well, if you're listening to this, you can't see the background. If you happen to be watching this, you will notice that this background is not as cool as last time's background. We are now in a hotel. We were on the beach. Now we're in a hotel.
But we're making it happen.
But we were working on this to get episode 2 done while we are in person.
The camera was also shaking a little bit.
That's
really.
It's fine. Camera set up on the end of the bed. We're making do. All right, Maggie. So let's talk about your journey as an age group endurance athlete.
Well, I would say it started with swimming. I started swimming when I was 9 years old. Joined the Middleton Gators swim team. Honestly, it was actually kind of late to join swim team. A lot of people join swim team as 8 and unders. I had taken swim lessons, but I didn't join the team until I was 9. And if you're familiar with swimming, 8 and unders race 25s. When you're 9, you switch to 50s. So we already jumped in at a longer distance. And I say we because it was me and my twin sister who started swimming competitively at the same time.
Okay, so that's a good call out. You are a twin. How many other siblings do you have?
I have one other sister. She's 4 years younger.
All girls.
All girls. Yep.
Did all of you participate in swimming?
We did. I don't think, so my younger sister is Abby. My twin sister is Jenny. I don't think Abby started swimming at the exact same time Jenny and I did. It might have been the year later, but Abby did start as an 8 and under. So she got to race the 25s and we did not.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, started swimming this summer when I was 9. I don't remember what I wanted to race at that point. Like if there were any particular strokes that I was interested in. I just remember there was one meet that summer. They needed someone to swim butterfly for a medley relay. And my coach asked me to swim butterfly and I did pretty decent at it. So I, from that point, started doing a good amount of racing butterfly, racing IM. As I kept swimming. I just did summer swimming, I think, for maybe 2 or 3 years. And then maybe when I was like 11, I started doing club swimming year round. So then I started doing more events. I went to state when I was 12, swam the 400 IM. And then... Anyway, okay, yeah. So I went to state when I was 12. I swam the 400 IM, and then kept doing IM. But then when I got to high school, so I swam in high school. My freshman year of high school, I did mostly 100 back, 200 IM. But then sophomore year, junior year, senior year, I started doing more distance free. So I was racing the 500, and then in club swimming, I was doing longer, like 1,000 or 1,650. I got pretty burnt out of swimming by the end of high school. And so I knew I didn't want to swim in college. But I kept swimming through the summer after my senior year. That summer with club swimming, I went on a training trip to Coronado, California, and it was like 2 hour swim in the morning, 1 hour dry land in the middle of the day, 2 hour swim in the afternoon, every day for 5 days. And I don't remember what day of the trip it was, but we were doing some kind of like race simulation work, and I was supposed to be like racing a 200-meter backstroke. We were swimming in a 50-meter long course outdoor pool, and I remember diving back to start it, and it was like my whole left arm just went numb. So I really fucked up my shoulder and had to go to PT for that. It turned out that I had some like really weak muscles in my like small muscles in my shoulder, and my ribs were rotating. So that was not fun. But anyway, by that point I was like, yeah, I'm ready to be done with swimming. So that was the end of that chapter. And then when I went to college, I really went into college knowing that I wanted to join the triathlon team at my school.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Boston University. We had a club triathlon team. And again, I knew I didn't want to like just swim, but I had done one triathlon when I was in high school. I think it was the summer between my junior and senior years of high school, maybe. It was a sprint distance triathlon in Wisconsin. My mom was also doing it, so we did it together. And
Which one? Do you remember?
might have been Trying for Children's. Is that in Dallasman?
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sounds right.
It's Middleton.
Yeah. And that was fun. I did it on a borrowed road bike. I did not swim with a wetsuit. I had on bike shorts and a tank top, and I just put my swimsuit over that and then peeled that off. I was like, I can swim fine. I don't need a wetsuit.
It's the fact though that you put the swimsuit over the bike shorts.
Well, because there were pockets in them, like in the back and also in the tank top. And so he was like minimize the drag of that. You know?
You can start anywhere, folks.
You can start anywhere.
At least you thought to minimize the drag.
I think someone probably suggested it to me.
Okay.
I don't know that I would have come up with that on my own.
I mean,
But-
I've seen people, full basketball shorts for their first triathlon.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, yeah, I had done one triathlon and wanted to keep doing something. And it had the element of swimming that I was really familiar with and comfortable with, but it was something new. So I joined the triathlon team at Boston University. I signed up for a triathlon before I even got to school, but I knew I was going to be joining the team. So it was pretty early in the fall that I did a sprint distance triathlon off of Cape Cod, which was like, experience was like 0 to 100 because this was a swim in the ocean in Cape Cod. It was freezing cold, like big waves. I still did not have a wetsuit. I borrowed someone's wetsuit for this race.
Was it a beach start or like a dock start?
Beach start.
Beach start. So running in through the break or the waves.
Yep, exactly.
Woof.
Also, maybe another crazy element of this. Right before I left home for college, my twin sister, mom, and I were on a bike ride around Middleton. And we were on like country roads, and a tractor ran us off the road. And I just like skidded onto the ground and had some road rash and was pretty okay. My twin sister had the worst of it. Like the tractor came closest to her and she flipped into a ditch and was really severely injured. She was in a back brace for, I think, 3 months, like really bad concussion, really major injuries. And the triathlon that I did in Cape Cod was my first time getting back on a bike since that happened. So I had a bit of a meltdown before that race, but I made it through and I qualified for USAT Collegiate Nationals. So
Did you run in high school? Were you a runner?
no, my twin sister ran.
Okay.
My parents always tried to get me to run. everyone seemed to always expect that I would be able to run like my twin sister was able to run, and she was quite fast. And I was not that fast, and I did not like running that much. So I did not run much in high school.
Okay.
I mean, I was decent at it. We did have to run some for high school swimming, like as part of our dry land workouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do that in college. You're in Boston. When do you make the jump from like sprint distance, maybe Olympic? I don't know. I don't want to assume you didn't do Olympic in college. Maybe you did. A full distance.
Well, so my college triathlon experience was actually quite short-lived. So I did that sprint in Cape Cod, qualified for collegiate nationals. So I went to collegiate nationals that spring. That was in South Carolina. So we're going from Boston, cold, to South Carolina, hot. It was also an Olympic. And so I was going into my first Olympic triathlon with no heat training.
Also, if you listen to episode 1, you will realize Maggie hates the heat.
Correct. So I did that race. The swim was fine. The bike was fine. The run felt so long, and I was getting so hot. I felt really, really terrible. And I got really bad heat stroke. So I finished that race. I think I tried to eat a little bit of food, went back to my team tent, and then I passed out on the ground and I threw up. And then this is where, again, like not great triathlon experiences. It's kind of wild. I'm still in this sport, to be honest. My teammates like didn't do anything. So they just like left me passed out on the ground. Someone from another team came over, got me to the med tent. What's going on?
College kids.
College kids.
You're like, she'll be fine. Sleep it off.
I was unwell. But anyway, someone got me to the med tent. They took care of me. But after that, I was like, I'm done. So I was only on the triathlon team my freshman year of college, and then took a break from triathlon for the remainder of college, and then did not get back into it until I moved back to Madison like a year-ish after I graduated school. And at that time, we had a family friend who had signed up for Ironman Wisconsin 2021 and convinced me to sign up as well. So I went from doing nothing to signing up for a full Ironman distance triathlon.
Did you do a half the year you did in 2021?
Nope.
No. So literally 0 to a million.
Correct. I did one sprint and one Olympic that year. I did Lake Mills, and then I did, what's the one in Verona?
The Triterium.
The Triterium Olympic. Yep. I also did not have a coach. I was just figuring this out on my own for my first Ironman.
So no team for your first Ironman, just a friend at Decision. And you were how old?
I would have been 24.
24. Okay. So that does feel correct for 24-year-old decision-making skills. Risk assessment, all the things.
Like, yeah, I'm talking, but not quite yet.
So we met you the following season.
Yes.
So 2022, but 2021 was also my husband Aaron's first Ironman, but he did that with a team. We were on a team at that time, but we met you the next year.
Right. So I did Ironman Wisconsin in 2021. I finished in like 15 hours and 50 minutes, I think. I got through the swim just fine, got through the run pretty well. I took maybe 10 steps, or got through the bike pretty well, took maybe 10 steps of trying to run. And my body was like, no, especially my stomach was like, you are not going to be running right now. So I walked the full marathon at the end of that Ironman. And I think it was within like 24 hours of finishing that I was like, I'm going to do it again next year.
But then you joined a team.
Yes. So then I joined a team. I think I joined a team in like November of 2021. It was pretty shortly after. I was like, if I'm going to do this again, I'm going to find a coach. I'm going to find people to train with. Because the friend who I knew who had signed up for Ironman Wisconsin, we did maybe like 2 training rides together, but I was mostly training by myself and wanted to have people to train with. So,
But in that, let's just go back. So if we think about somebody listening to this, maybe they are contemplating getting into triathlon and listening to your story. Yes, she was 24, but she did the whole first year by herself. What did you follow a plan like from a book or
I did. I think I just found some like free training plan online
online?
Yeah.
And completed an Ironman.
and completed an Ironman with, like, looking back on it, really not ideal training. I was swimming with a master's team, so I was swimming 3 days a week. Like, the swim training was totally good. The bike, I never did a bike longer than 80 miles, which if you have trained for an Ironman, usually you do at least 100, if not 110 as your max distance for your training rides. I think I did get up to 20 miles of a run, but I was also doing like, this is the other thing, is I was not fueling well. So I was exhausted after all of my training. So I would alternate, like one weekend I would do a long run. The next weekend I would do a long bike and then just keep switching those off.
But you still completed it.
But I still completed it.
Okay.
And also within 24 hours, decided to do another one.
Yes.
Because typically you cross that finish line and you're like, never again.
I think I felt like I could do better. This is where I get like competitive with myself. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah.
When they say triathletes have a short memory.
Yep.
Some don't. Some have a long memory, but most, I would say, have a short memory. Okay, so then you sign up to do it again in 2022. Let's talk about what was different in training with a group versus training alone.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot was different because it wasn't just training with a group, but also having a coach. So I had someone who was giving me a plan to follow. I do think that plan was like pretty standard across all the people that this coach was coaching. I don't know that it was super personalized, but it was still like more personalized than something I was just finding online for myself. Yeah, so it made a huge difference training with other people. I think it made me a better biker riding in groups. I felt just more comfortable and safe like going out for bike rides with other people around instead of by myself. Same for open water swimming. Yeah, so I think, and also that second year, it was helpful to have my coach's recommendation about what kind of races to do leading up to a full Ironman. So I did a half Ironman that year.
Which half did you do that year?
I did the Door County
Door
half
that's right.
Ironman,
Sorry.
which was also really hot. He sets the theme in the races that I don't have the most positive memories of. But that one had a great ice bath at the end. So that's good.
And that race no longer exists, the Door County
Oh, does
half.
it really?
They almost burnt him up.
Yep, they no longer do a half up there.
Well,
Okay. Now, there was some significant things about 2022 Ironman Wisconsin that are worth maybe mentioning that happened.
we could have a whole episode about.
Let's just give a preface real quick of the day Holly and I had in 2022.
So in 2022, it was Laura's first 70.3, which we'll get to eventually. So, and I forget, I think it was my third.
Well, we'll just
70.3.
like quickly summarize of like
It was beautiful.
calm water, perfectly flat,
72 degrees.
72 degrees and sunny with cloud coverage. Okay, just wrap that up in a bow on Saturday. And Maggie's going to tell you what happened on Sunday.
So Sunday. Okay, well, first of all, leading into this, on Saturday, I take my bike out because Saturday I have to check my bike in to transition. And so before I go to take my bike in, I just take it out for like a 15-minute ride. And I think it was my left brake, was like not braking all the way. And I was like, seems like an issue. So I took it into a bike shop and they were like, well, what did he say? I wish I could remember the exact words that he used. I was like, I'm literally racing Ironman Wisconsin tomorrow. And I think he said, you can limp through it with this. And I was like, it's Ironman. There is no limping. What do you mean? But I was like, okay, I guess this is just what we're going with. So I checked in my bike. Then on Sunday, it rained the entire day. I don't think it ever got above, 58 degrees?
Maybe.
It was 56 degrees, maybe? It was cold. This being in the water during the swim was the warmest part of the day. The number of people who did not start was very high. The number of people who did not finish was also very high. It was just a brutal day. It was windy, just horrible weather. Did the swim felt fine. Get out on the bike. Within the first 2 miles, I'm like, oh, I can't shift in front. So I had two rings in the front, and I was stuck in my big ring. Wisconsin is a hilly course, and I rode that whole thing in my big ring, and that was really painful. I truly think my cadence was probably about 30 going up some of the hills. Really, really slow.
I think my cadence is 30 in my little ring going up some of those hills. That's what I do some days.
I particularly remember, what is the last hill on the loop? Midtown. There was a firefighter who was on that hill. And the first time, because Wisconsin's bike course is like a lollipop. There's a stem and then there's a loop that you do twice. The first time he ran with me up the hill, in his firefighting gear, which I'm like,
he was dry.
Yeah, he was dry. So damn, you're fit. I mean, you have to be for your job. But anyway, then the second loop, truly, I'm barely moving, but he's trying to run up next to me on this hill. He was very motivating. It was helpful. But I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it to the top of this thing. But yeah, I did. And then when I got to the run, I was able to run the first 8 miles. But then just the conditions and really blowing up my legs on the bike definitely got to me. I think I was getting pretty close to hypothermic because I was really cold. I was getting shooting pains down my arms, which I've now realized happens to me when I'm getting really cold. So I started walking at that point because I had been kind of running, and then running became really painful with just the shooting pains down my arms. And I was so close to calling it quits at mile 13 or whatever when you get back to the Capitol. We had some friends out on the course who gave me a winter hat and mittens and an extra jacket, which, if you know Ironman rules, you are not supposed to accept any outside aid, and that would have been outside aid. But I think that year they just genuinely did not care. And I kept walking. I was scared to run because that would increase my heart rate, increase my body temperature. And then I was like, if I have to walk again, I'm going to freeze. And then I'm just going to end up in this cycle where I'm just not good. So I kept walking until I think mile 22. And then there was someone from another Madison triathlon team who was out on the course cheering. And he was like, come on, no walking, at least through this bit. And I was like, well, I was going to start running up there, but I've got all this extra winter gear, and I just I don't want to start running until I'm sure that I can keep running to the finish. And he was like, well, I can hold stuff for you. I'll run next to you. So he ran next to me for probably a half mile, held on to my hat that I had been wearing and the extra jacket. And then my parents were there. So then he handed off the stuff to my parents, and I was able to run the rest of the way into the finish and still got a PR compared to my first year.
in the worst conditions in Ironman history. Maybe second worst. I know there are people who have done Ironman Wisconsin like since the beginning of time. And I think it was like 2006 or something like that was another year that was really, really terrible. But it hadn't been bad again until 2022.
Well, yeah, because at the breakfast the morning after, they were like, don't we have someone here who's done Ironman Wisconsin every year that it's been here? And there was a man, and he was like, yeah, this is the worst year I've done it. Yeah. So I think I finished in 1440 that year. And then I was like, I need to take a break from doing full distance Ironmans.
And how long was this break?
From doing full distance, 2 years.
2 years.
Well, so I did 2022 Wisconsin. I did Maryland 2024. So
2024.
Yeah.
But in the in-between, you did
70.3 Boulder in
Yeah.
2023. 2023 was also the year that I did my first trail run race. I did a 10-mile trail run, I think. And that was all that I did for that year. It really was not a big year for racing for me.
Didn't you did a relay with your family that year?
Oh, yes, we did Muscleman. I did the bike, 70.3.
Yeah. It was the week after Boulder. I remember this because you were biking by my house because
Yes.
our house was on that course. And I was like, how are your legs a week later? Like, not too bad. I'm like, okay. Yes.
We made it through.
Okay, so 2024, that's, 22, 23 you did Boulder, trail race, Milkman. 24,
24, I did 70.3 Muscleman. And then I did Ironman Maryland.
you also moved in 2024.
I also moved in 2024. Yep, moved from Wisconsin. No, that was end of 2023.
Oh, it was the end of 2023.
Yeah, because I moved to Arlington in November of 2023.
I was trying to shorten that time, apparently. So she moved away from us in the fall of 23. And then we met up. We were with you for Muscleman. You raced Maryland, but you came home for a little while in 2024
Right.
because Laura and I raced Ironman Wisconsin in 2024.
Yeah, that
You
was
were there
kind
for
of dual motivation for me because Maryland was 2 weeks after Wisconsin. So one, I wanted to be back to be with you for your longest bike ride and to cheer for you while you raced. But also selfishly, I wanted some good training. And I did not have a good place to open water swim in the DC area. People do swim in the Potomac, but I was like, I do not want to do that. I guess if you go like farther into Maryland, it's supposed to be better, but still I was like, I'm used to my Wisconsin lakes that are genuinely like nice to swim in. So, yeah, I wanted to get some good open water swimming, wanted to get some good biking. And at the time, I still like was not very comfortable or happy with the biking situation in the DC area, having come from Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, roads have shoulders or they have bike lanes, and that is not typically the case in the Northeast. There are a lot skinnier roads. Cars are a lot closer to you. And so, yeah, I came back for I think like a month.
So that was, but then you did Maryland. Let's talk about Maryland because Maryland also had unique weather conditions for
Right.
you.
Yes, So Maryland, the swim for that one is technically in a river. It's brackish, so it does taste salty. Maryland often has a bunch of jellyfish. I did not get stung by a jellyfish, so that was great. Good start to the day. The bike course is flat as a pancake. It is so freaking boring, but it was fast. And I was really excited for myself that I think I finished that bike course in less than 6 hours, which was good for me in comparison to my previous 2 Ironmans. On the bike course, there were some pretty large puddles that we had to ride through on the first loop, but they had dried up by the second loop. Start out the run, it's fine. It's just hot because it's Maryland and it's humid and it's gross. Again, theme.
Was it sunny there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I think so. The Maryland run course is really interesting. I think it's technically 3.5 loops. You go through the same bits like over and over and over again. They actually give you wristbands each time you pass a certain point so that they keep track of how many times you've gone past that point. And each wristband is a different color because otherwise, like, everyone would just lose track of where they're at. I think it was on my second loop. The run course started to flood. I don't really know what the full cause of this was. I think part of it actually was related to the moon, and then there had been some storm that had come through recently. But there were just parts of the course that started to go progressively underwater. So I had been feeling pretty good on the run, but then going through these puddles, it was like there were at least 3 sections of the course that were really going underwater. And at first it was like up to my mid calf, but then by the time I got to the next one, it was like upper calf. And then the next one, it was like my knees. So I'm wading through like really deep water. There was really no chance to run through it. Also, they had volunteers standing in the puddles to be like, don't step here because you're going to step into a hole and then you're going to break your ankle. So that really slowed down the run and also gave me huge blisters because my feet were absolutely soaked. So at one point I reached down and like through my shoe, I could move the bubble of fluid on my big toe and I had to like push it so that it stopped rubbing as much, but made it through that one too and got another PR.
Yes. And we were at home watching the tracker. If you're not familiar, Ironman has a pretty, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's really decent tracker system.
I think if you live in the Ironman world of like what we do all the time, we know how it operates for like any human who's spectating their loved one for the first time, because it gives you a prediction. So it'll be like, they'll hit bike 56 at this time, and people think it's an actual GPS tracking, and it's just an estimator. So like they don't hit that point and they panic. But it works for what you need.
I mean,
it to.
for what it is, it's very decent. But we are watching Maggie in the tracker, and she's having like a day, like amazing. We're like, oh my God, she's having such a great day. She's doing so amazing. And we're all very excited for her. And then all of a sudden, her run pace like tanks, cuts, or like goes down by half. Like whenever she was running, I can't remember if it was 8-minute miles or whatever.
8:15s. And
then it's like 12:30 or something. And I just remember being like, oh my God, something is wrong. Like really, really wrong. Like, did she break something? Is she like hobbling on the course? Like,
it turns out they were correct. Something was really wrong, just in a way they never would have anticipated. But I think I finished under 12 hours for that one. Or right at 12 hours? Maybe right at 12 hours. So that was, I mean, it was a rough race, but I was pleased with the outcome. And yeah, that was my last full distance Ironman. Last year I did Chattanooga, which is a 70.3. The swim was canceled, so it was just a bike run. Qualified for Worlds at that race. So then I went to 70.3 Worlds last year in Marbella, Spain. And then you already heard about me doing Oceanside. So that's been my triathlon racing.
And we are 2 years out from Ironman Maryland. So what are you doing this year?
Ironman Lake Placid. I think the other really cool thing that I did last year, which is not triathlon, but is endurance, so it fits into this, is I did the speed project in France. So I raced 70.3 Chattanooga in May, and then I did a trail ultra just in Virginia in July. It was a backyard ultra, so like 4.2 mile loops on the hour for 24 hours or as long as you can go. And then that was kind of my lead up to doing the speed project in France, which was 280 some miles from Chamonix to Marseille. And that was a team of 6 runners, 4 crew, We had some trail sections, some road sections, and it was really epic. So
Yeah, super cool. Speed
Yeah.
projects on my bucket list of races for sure. I think that's super cool. That would fall into the ultra running category if anybody is not familiar and listening to this. But in addition to Lake Placid, so we've talked a lot about triathlon, touched on trail a little bit, but you also are, we talked about this on episode 1, right? We're doing Unbound in the end of May, but let's talk about getting into gravel.
yeah. Yeah, so we're doing a 200-mile gravel race at the end of May. I have been riding gravel for probably about a year and a half now. Trying to remember the exact timeline of this. I think the way it started is I went to visit my friend Jess, who lives in Pennsylvania, and I took my bike with me, and I did some road riding, took my road bike with me, which has 32 millimeter tires. Did some road riding, but there was also a gravel path near her house, and I rode on that with just my road bike. And I was like, I think I can ride on gravel with these tires. And then I was just kind of keeping an eye out for group rides in the Arlington area, and I saw there was a bike shop near me that was hosting a gravel ride. And I messaged the person who was leading that ride, Hales, who has now become one of my good friends. And I was like, hey, I have a Trek Domani. It has 32 millimeter tires. Do you think I would be okay on this gravel ride? And she was like, well, yeah, I think you'd be okay, but we're actually demoing some gravel bikes for this ride. If you want to come into the shop and use one of these bikes that's like actually a true gravel bike. So I went in, got my pedals switched over, and then I got sick and I wasn't able to go on that group ride. So I didn't get to test that gravel bike. But then it was like 2 months after that Hales messaged me and first asked if I wanted to go on a trail run with her and just some other women with a group that she was calling the Dust Bunnies. And I did, and it was a great group of people, and we had a really fun time. And we, since then, have been doing approximately monthly trail runs, gravel bike rides, road bike rides, and it's really been, I think, the main driving force in me gravel biking. So I now have a different wheel set. I'm still riding my Trek Domani road bike on gravel, but I have some 30, I thought they were 38s. They're actually 35s. I checked recently, and I think I could go up to 38s, so I might buy some new tires before Unbound. But I have 35 millimeter gravel tires. They are set up tubeless, which is great for gravel, and I ride gravel very frequently now. There are some good spots to do it in Northern Virginia. So yeah, and then I also like to mountain bike, and it is on my bingo card for this year to do a mountain bike race. So we'll see how I fit that in. But
Do you have one picked out?
I do not. I need to look at that. There are some in Virginia. I don't think the timing is going to work out for any of those for me, but I think there would be some good ones in Wisconsin.
Maybe you could do Schwamigan.
Maybe. I don't know what time of year that one is.
September.
I might do Schwamigan. Trek also hosts a cross series, I think, in the fall, which would not be like mountain biking, but it would be really fun. So I might do that too.
Yeah, we've talked about that. When we were at the bike shop, we were talking about doing the cyclocross on the gravel bike.
Yeah.
So you could definitely do.
Yeah. I mean, I even did, so last April, I did I guess it technically is a race, like a bike event in Virginia. It's the Dirty Kitten Grally Cat, which I did on my Domani. At that time, I was borrowing a pair of Hales's wheels. She had some 650 42s. And since it's a smaller wheel, since it's a 650, I was able to fit wider tires on my frame. So I was able to fit the 42s. And that was kind of like cyclocross because there was some bits that were gravel paths and roads, But then there were other parts where we had to like go through the forest and we would have to like go over trees, and it was really fun. So
Okay.
catch me at a cyclocross race this year, maybe.
Well, I mean, that would be great if you decided to do those, because Trek is close to us, not in Minneapolis
Right.
or Virginia.
Yes.
So we've gone through kind of like your race story, but we haven't
Mhm.
talked a whole ton about your life outside of racing, which I think is worth mentioning because you have some stuff going on
They do.
outside of being an average
An athlete, average age
age
grouper.
grouper. Yeah.
Yes. So when I was doing my first Ironman, I was working for a pharmaceutical company. I was doing clinical research. I had like a very cushy job. I worked fully remote. I had plenty of time to go and train. It made it very easy. I was making a good salary, et cetera, et cetera. When I moved to DC, I moved to DC to work for the government. Originally, I was going to work for the FDA. I ended up working for HRSA in the Maternal Child Health Bureau, which loved the job, but was working for the government during 2025, which was a time where there was a lot changing in government jobs. So I ended up going into the office 5 days a week. I was living in Arlington, working in Rockville. For anyone familiar with the DMV area, I was taking the silver or orange line to the red line. So my commute was like an hour and 15 minutes each way. It just added up to a lot of time, and it made it much harder to continue doing the things I like to do outside of work. And to be honest, by the time I got to last August when I was doing the speed project, I was like really at a breaking point of like, I can't keep doing this. I did enough of training to like get by at Worlds, but then also switched jobs. The funding for my job came to an end, so I kind of had no choice about that, but switched to working for a nonprofit organization doing maternal health research, which was a better work-life balance because I was able to work mostly remote. I had intended to spend a lot of my time in Wisconsin, but I have to do a lot of my remote work in the DMV area. So I am still in Alexandria for a lot of the time. But yeah, there were, I don't know, some big complicated work things in trying to fit like training and the racing that I wanted to do. And now I was just accepted into a PhD program. And so I am going to be starting my PhD in September at the University of Minnesota. And I don't know what that's going to look like for me for racing, partially because PhD students do not make a lot of money. I'm going to have a very reduced salary compared to what I have had. And these races get to be expensive, especially the Ironman branded ones. So I will certainly keep swimming, biking, and running, but the racing might look a bit different.
Maybe we'll like start a GoFundMe for
We might
Maggie to
need
keep
to.
racing next year. We'll see how that goes, or who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
we'll get some podcast sponsorship or something.
I did actually have, I did not tell either of you about this yet. Someone messaged me on Instagram, like a bike, and they were like, bike company. They were like, do you want to chat? I'm like, they were like, great, definitions.
You mean from our one post or for what?
I don't know. But they messaged me and said, great job at Oceanside. Are you available soon to meet and have a quick chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
The answer is
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I'm not really in the market for a new bike, but okay.
If you're going to give it to me for
free, I will take it.
Okay. So more changes on the horizon for you coming up this fall,
Mhm.
finishing an Ironman, moving back to the Midwest from the East Coast, starting school. Anything else?
I mean, ideally, I'd like to qualify for Kona, so I would also be doing Kona as I'm like in a PhD program because that race is in October. I also don't know what that would look like getting the time off for that, so we'll see how that works out. I think that's
it.
yeah, I think that's it.
So I think that it's a good illustration, though, of like kind of going through all these things. And we didn't talk a ton about how you necessarily fit it into your life, but
Yeah.
we'll probably talk more about that, especially as we head into this summer and you move and the 200-mile gravel race and then an Ironman and whatever comes after that.
And maybe one thing I should say too is that I do not have a coach anymore. So I did have a coach for 2022, 2023, and then and 2024. But then after Ironman Maryland, I had stayed with the same coach that whole time, and I just felt like I had kind of grown beyond that level of coaching. I know my body pretty well at this point and what works for me for training. So now I do follow a training plan. I use, what is it, the My Pro Coach? Whatever
training
Nick Goldston used.
Yeah, training based. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Which is nice because you just select like the distance of race that you're working towards, the date of your race, and like the timeline you want for training. And then if you want like, I don't remember what they call it, but like easy, moderate, advanced level of training plan. And that has worked well for me. So,
And you could always go back to a coach in the future if you want to, or
but that's me.
so Maggie's story, episode 2. You'll get to hear about Laura and I in future episodes. I think we will be able to record the next one probably in person.
Yeah.
Because Maggie, we're with her right now.
Yes.
She's flying back to Virginia for like
3 days.
3
and
days.
then I'm driving to Wisconsin.
Yeah. So we'll be able to do a couple more in person before we have to start navigating remote podcast recording, which we can do. It's not hard.
Yeah. But then honestly, it's not that long after that we'll be together in Kansas.
Yeah. It'll be quick. Actually, we'll be together at least once before Kansas. I hope.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully we're able to do a long training ride together.
Yeah.
Going into Unbound. If people have questions about my story, please send them in to me or to Laura and Holly. We can answer them in a future episode.
Yep. You can hit up the socials, which will be YouTube and Instagram at Average Age Groupers on both platforms.
Like, subscribe, tell your friends, share it to your story.
Yep. If you have things you want to hear about, let us know. If you got a story you want to share, also let us know about that. Okay.
Bye.
It has to end that way every time now, unfortunately.
We can do that. Bye.